The growing backlash against Nike, the company naming Colin Kaepernick a face of its new Just Do It campaign. Tonight, some famous names are now showing their support. And here's ABC's Paula Ferris.
Colin Kaepernick is back in action, but this time off the field. The controversial quarterback now the face of Nike's 30th anniversary Just Do It campaign with these words: believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. In 2016, Kaepernick ignited a firestorm when he started kneeling during the national anthem to protest racial injustice.
You're going to have that backlash for trying to fight for people.
Nike's move today drawing swift backlash, some taking to social media to burn their gear in protest. But other Nike athletes like LeBron James and Serena Williams praising the decision. Serena tweeting, especially proud to be a part of the Nike family today, #JustDoIt. Tom Brady liking the ad on Instagram too. Nike's stock today taking a hit, dropping over 3%.
The executives at Nike decided that this was a risk worth taking. And that even if there are people who say, hey, I'm not going to ever buy another Nike product.
One fierce critic of anthem protests, the president today, telling the Daily Caller that Nike's decision sent a terrible message, but added that the freedom to make this decision is what this country is all about. Now, Kaepernick is already suing the league for conspiring to keep him out. The league responding to this Nike deal today, saying that the issues that he has raised deserve our attention and action. But, David, Nike not giving the NFL a heads up about this deal.
All right, Paula Ferris, great to have you as always.
Well, Nike names Colin Kaepernick as the face of its anniversary, its 30-year anniversary of the Just Do It campaign. Want to bring in Colonel Brian Searcy. Sir, your take on all of this?
Well, I tell you what, it has been a busy day, and a lot of the divisiveness that we just saw with what we had with Judge Kavanaugh's hearing is kind of what we're seeing with Colin Kaepernick and what Nike has done with this new campaign. My concern is it's going to cause even more divisiveness, and I think we've actually seen that. Twitter exploded. We've seen shoes being burned, socks being cut. And my concern as a veteran, somebody that served and defended this country and who's a full and fervent supporter of law enforcement and EMS and all of the firemen and women that are out there, is that we're not showing the true respect that they need, and we're just contributing to the divisiveness in this country.
I think we're going to continue down this path because the NFL had an opportunity to deal with this at an entire offseason. It looked like they were, and then they blinked. This is going to continue. We have it up on the screen. Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. How bad does this have to get, though, Colonel Searcy? Where do the calmer heads come in? Because both sides of this seem to be firmly planted in their beliefs, and no one's budging, and I don't see a bridge between either.
That's an absolute correct point, and that's one of the problems that I guess I've seen it in our country, and one of the main reasons I founded and started Main Street Pilot. We're out there trying to talk about how to allow the tools that are necessary to develop personal skills so people can get back to understanding what our republic is founded upon, the fact that everybody is allowed to have their own opinion, and then we can have conversations about those opinions, make decisions that will be better for our country so that we can continue to ensure that our economy and our republic remains the best in the world. I'm a very, very proud American, having served just like many other veterans have, and that's one of the big concerns I have, that this divisiveness is causing a breakaway of the American public with being proud about America, about being a patriot, about wanting to serve our country, being proud of our country, and espousing that with everything that we do. And this divisiveness is just driving that. So we need to work on the ability to have conversations so that we can get back to how things were 25, 30 years ago, where you can have a conversation, have different opinions, but then figure out the best way forward so we can remain the best country on the planet.
Bring in Adam Shapiro here, who has more. Adam.
Okay, I'm on this camera. There we go. Pull up the Nike stock. No, I'm on this camera. Let's pull up the Nike stock. You can see right there. In the pre-market, it was trading down. Nike is a global company. They had $34.5 billion in sales in fiscal 2018. They will report their first quarter fiscal 2019 earnings on September 25th. Remember, they control something like 27.5% of the sports apparel market globally. So this play could be much more than just the United States. It could be a global play to perhaps increase their sales overseas. In the United States, they are the #1 athletic footwear maker. They are losing a little bit to Adidas, but they still have more than 10% gain over Adidas in the market. One last thing, Nike in March of this year actually renewed a contract with the NFL. They supply the uniforms to the NFL teams, and that contract takes them through, I think it's 2025 as of this point. So they will be providing all of the NFL uniforms with the Nike swoosh. We obviously reached out starting yesterday to both Nike and to the NFL. They have said not a word. So the NFL, if you're watching, been calling you all morning and reached out to you yesterday. Let's talk, guys.
Well, you know, I think if you drill down, though, forgetting about the apparel part, just with sneakers in America, particularly the Jordan brand, Nike has made some pretty significant inroads. Now, the last 3 years, Adidas stock is up 221%. Nike shares are up 49%. I think Adidas did something interesting, though, because they went with a lot of non-athletes, right? Kanye West has been amazing for them. The Yeezys go for $700 to $1,000. So, you know, you just wonder if they could have found a better way, even to go after the global market, than this. It's an interesting gambit on their part.
Well, you can also, if you go to the hashtag Nike boycott on Twitter, you'll see people who are very upset with Nike's decision. You will see an equal number of people who are supporting the decision and say they're going to buy Nike sneakers.
Yeah, but again, though, the point I think, though, is will it help them in terms of sales, or is this something I think is to get street cred, but I don't know if it's going to backfire or not. I just wonder.
In the United States, it might backfire, but globally, they're betting it won't backfire. And even in the United States,
so are they dissing America to get global market share?
That's a question we would ask Nike if they would respond to us, but they're not responding.
So why are they somehow elevating him to some hero status? I mean, they used to have guys like Michael Jordan and the top athletes in their field, and now they got a guy who nobody wants to have him on their team. And he's primarily known for his protests and wearing socks with policemen depicted as pigs. I'm wondering if Nike's going to sell those socks as part of their new deal with him.
Well, Dagan, you had an idea in terms of why Nike would do this earlier.
Well, one, it's corporate virtue signaling, number one, and it is a business calculation that the Kaepernick jersey, even after he stopped playing in the NFL, has still been a good, if not best-selling jersey for Nike. So number two, they know that there's nothing lost in them using him as the face of this new campaign, and to do a little bit of show that they've got their social justice credibility. And Governor, I would argue that because nearly a dozen people have left Nike because of complaints about inappropriate workplace behavior, that this is a way for them to draw attention away from that and to the new spokesman of their campaign.
And it's also a way to wave their middle finger at half the American voters and half the American public who are leaving the NFL in droves, not only in television ratings, but in the purchase of merchandise and tickets. And there are a lot of empty seats in NFL games right now because people are just fed up with, you know, what once was a sports effort now becoming a political arena. People don't go to the movies and they don't go to the sports arenas because they want to be preached to and lectured at by people who are pushing their personal politics. Take it off the field, say whatever you want. But, I mean, I just can't imagine how Nike thinks this is a brilliant move for them. Everybody's talking about them, so maybe, you know, if that's their goal, they've got it. But not everybody's talking very favorably
just to note,
about them
though,
today.
people, you know, because I criticize the left for the manufactured outrage, and there's some of that on the right as well about this. So to anybody who's bragging about their Converse tennis shoes, well, Nike owns Converse, so I will just point that out because I saw somebody taking a photo of their feet on Twitter yesterday. I'm like, okay, you still bought those shoes from Nike.
My favorite's still Stan Smith, Adidas. Just saying.
Adidas.
Yeah. Let's turn to something close to you, Governor. Back in June, your daughter, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders, was refused service at that Red Hen restaurant in Lexington, Virginia. Now a local publication is reporting that the area's tourism board is spending money to repair the town's image. Interesting development, Sarah. Your thoughts?
Well, and it's tragic that all of those other business owners, you know, are being hurt by the actions of one bigoted restaurant owner. The Red Hen, I guess, is going to have a new menu. Bigots breakfast, leftist lunch, and discrimination dinner. But the tragedy is you've got all these other businesses there in Lexington, Virginia, that are suffering because of the discrimination of one restaurant owner in a small little restaurant. And I feel for those people, and I hope they can rehab their image, because it's a beautiful community. It's a beautiful part of Virginia. Washington and Lee is near there, great university. And frankly, they don't deserve to all suffer because one person decided to take it upon herself to throw someone out of a restaurant because she represents a political point of view that is different than hers.
Just incredible.
That's hardly the kind of America that's good for us.
Governor, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
You bet, Maria. Thank you.
Former Governor Mike Huckabee joining us there.
The NFL's regular season hasn't even started yet, right? Fans are already throwing a red flag when it comes to the anthem protests. That's because Nike has teamed up with Colin Kaepernick, making the anthem protester the face of its 30th anniversary Just Do It campaign. The former 49ers quarterback writing, quote, "Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything." The endorsement deal will feature him on billboards, TV commercials, and online ads. Not only that, but he will get his own clothing and shoe line. He currently does not play for an NFL team. Kaepernick kicked off the anthem protests in 2016 by taking a knee on the sidelines. He's currently suing the NFL, claiming owners colluded to keep him off the field after he was not signed by a team following the 2016 season. Many Americans already upset about the protests, now turning their rage on Nike.
You're going to go ahead and say, hey, buy them our shoes. We stand with people who kneel for the national anthem. Not only am I burning my favorite pair of Nikes, you are burning your sales. Have a good day.
Nike defending their choice, saying, "We believe Colin is one of the most inspirational athletes of this generation who has leveraged the power of sport to help move the world forward." But former Marine Joey Jones tweeting, quote, "There is protesting, and then there's the actual actions and words of Kaepernick. It's disrespectful to anyone to say someone who is patriotic or proud of a flag and anthem are supporting oppression in doing so. That's where he started and how he lost me." Other athletes in the Just Do It campaign include tennis star Serena Williams and the NBA's LeBron James. Both of them are outspoken supporters of Kaepernick.
In America, Colin Kaepernick is both hero and villain. Believe in something, the ad reads, even if it means sacrificing everything. As Nike celebrates Just Do It, some might ask, why do it? Why align with such a controversial and divisive figure?
Marketing that's good should provoke.
David Soberman is a marketing professor.
Rarely have we had an example where such a prominent company has taken a position that's so clearly political. So in that way, it's innovative and it's different.
There are those, mind you, who see it differently.
Just stay out of politics. There's enough going on in politics. We don't need it in sports.
Sorry, Nike. I've been buying you for the past 20 plus years. Not anymore.
And online, those who vow never to buy another Nike product. The company, of course, would have tested the Kaepernick idea, betting now they'll gain more customers than they'll lose.
I think that's fantastic, and I think that, I support Nike in making that decision.
Would someone like you be more likely or less likely to buy their product because they put Colin Kaepernick in an ad?
More likely.
To tie the game.
All this puts the NFL in an even tighter spot. Accused of blackballing Kaepernick, today the league released a statement saying his social justice issues deserve our attention and action. Not much the NFL could do now anyway. Nike is locked in to clothe their players for game day through 2028. And Puma and Adidas were reportedly after Kaepernick if Nike didn't hold on to him. Speaking of gear, Kaepernick's jersey was already a superseller, tens of thousands last year, and the only one in the top 50 of sales for a player without a team. That tells you something. There's money connected to the name.
Because what's going on in the States now is so important in such a politicized environment, the ability for your product to become a badge saying, hey, I support Black Lives Matter is actually pretty important.
Indeed, the play here may not be to make a political statement, but to find the profit in amplifying one. Yes, Nike stock did take a hit today, dropping to its value of just a month ago. Markets, though, don't like risk, and this is a big one. But it's almost certainly backed by research that this will work. David Coleman, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back, everybody. Have you been following these Brett Kavanaugh hearings on and off here at Fox Business? We focus in on some of the controversies that have been generated. It is safe to say that Brett Kavanaugh has had very little chance to speak one way or the other, oftentimes interrupted by protesters who are in the audience and come and go in waves. So I wonder how long you can be patient with that sort of thing. And then I started wondering, my special guest joining me now, former boxing great promoter now, Oscar De La Hoya, how he would handle that. I dare say he might jump out of that seat and start going for people, but I don't know. He's otherwise a very affable and kind guy. Oscar, very good to see you.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
They always talk about the mood in these things. They get very tense. You've been in plenty of fights where you get in each other's faces, both sides in each other's faces. You're actually a perfect guest. There's this backdrop here. What do you make of it? I mean, just the tension that it creates.
Oh my gosh, it's look. I mean, yes, I'm very, very fortunate and happy that I live in the United States of America. I mean, freedom of speech. I get to choose either the right side or the left side. Look, I mean, everybody has their own opinion. Everybody has their own voice, and so be it.
So does it ever hey, can we get back to the issue at hand here?
Right, look, I mean, I strongly feel that, I mean, myself, when I heard that national anthem, okay, playing in the Olympics in 1992 Barcelona, there wasn't not a prouder moment that I've ever felt. And you have to respect it. That's the bottom line.
So when there was a dust-up, I know you're promoting this Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez, a middleweight title fight. Now, Golovkin's people, I guess, he's from Kazakhstan, right?
He's from Kazakhstan.
And he wanted to play the national anthem, his national anthem. And you had said no, or said that wasn't a good idea? Explain what happened.
Yeah, so let me explain. So in the contract, for some reason, this fight wasn't going to take place at all.
Right.
For little reasons. For instance, and obviously this is maybe a big reason, Triple G didn't want the national anthem to be played before a big fight.
What is Triple G?
Triple G is the fighter's name, Gennady Golovkin, who Canelo's fighting. So
that's a lot easier than just saying Golovkin.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So good move on his
exactly.
Right.
So they didn't want the national anthems to be played, and it's
at all. So they
at
were
all.
The one.
So we couldn't.
So
have...
they said that you didn't allow Kazakhstan, and that wasn't the case.
No, that's not the case. The case is that.
Now, Canelo Alvarez, he's Mexican,
He's
right?
Mexican.
So did he want the Mexican national?
Absolutely. But what we do, and me as a promoter, you play the Kazakhstan national anthem, you play the Mexican national anthem, and because we're in the USA of America, you play the United States national anthem out of respect for everybody watching the fight.
So what happened? What was the big thing?
I don't know. For some reason, they wanted to state in the contract that there's no national anthems whatsoever. Look, this is a proud moment for Kazakhstan. This is a proud moment for Mexico. And this is a proud moment for the US of A. We should be able to hear the national anthems right before a major event like this.
It's a big issue, isn't it, Oscar?
It's
huge.
The
NFL, as it kicks off, professional playing this week, how are they going to handle it? How's ESPN going to handle it? How are stadiums handling it? How's NFL going to handle it? How did it get like this?
Look, I'm split right down the middle.
Yeah.
I let the fighters obviously do their talking inside the ring. But when you're a promoter promoting a major event like this, I have no reason but to fight for what's right. And
what's right is to play the anthem. So when you see Nike celebrating, Just Do It campaign, Colin Kaepernick, famous for starting this whole kneeling to the national anthem, you think what?
Freedom of speech. I mean, look,
right to do it, free to do it.
But then the bottom line is that Nike does it. They're smart. They're the 800-pound gorilla. A
lot of people are protesting what they're doing, boycotting what they're doing.
And the bottom line is, maybe fortunately or unfortunately, they're going to sell tennis shoes. Yeah. That's what they do.
So you don't think it will actually hurt them, that people will just say, no, enough of this?
I strongly feel it will not hurt them.
Yeah.
Right, so, Tucker, we want to talk to you about the Nike ordeal with Colin Kaepernick, making him now the face of Nike, the new face for the Just Do It campaign. What are your thoughts?
It's pretty decadent, actually, I think. I mean, first of all, it's factually ludicrous. You can't give up everything and maintain a Nike contract. But the decadent part isn't even really about Colin Kaepernick. He's an athlete, a young guy. I would give him a pass, actually, on a lot of this. It's the executives profiting from him and his attacks on the United States while simultaneously denying that they are attacks on the United States. So they're saying, he raised the issue of racial discrimination in this country as if it's never been raised before, or as if, the historical problems with that aren't obvious to every single American. Of course they are. This is an attack on the country. So it would be very different if he were saying, I'm protesting this politician or this policy or this specific person for doing this specific thing. But no, sitting during the national anthem is a way of making a broad-based, generalized, and therefore impossible to rebut attack against the country that made him and Nike rich. And again, there's something really decadent about that. When the most successful people in your society hate the society, you've got a real problem. It's a metaphor for our entire ruling class, many of whom feel that way. They hate and resent the very system that made their prosperity, their success, possible. It's a huge problem for all of us.
Well, I tell you what, Tucker, I think everybody by now knows what Colin Kaepernick stands for and what he's been up to. But what do you make of the fact that Nike made a business decision? I mean, they had a lot of meetings before they did this, and they said, are we ready for the blowback? I mean, I'm sure some people might say, yeah, way to go, Nike, I'm going to buy your shoes. But others are starting theirs on fire.
Well, again, that's what makes this so appalling. So I think too much focus has been on Kaepernick, the guy. I mean, who knows what Kaepernick thinks or why he's so unhappy, or, it's not even that interesting. Here you have a boardroom full of corporate executives deciding that they're going to profit from attacks on the country that made their company possible. That is a really ominous thing. We should be really worried about that when the best educated, smartest, richest people in our society decide that destroying the society is the goal and the way to get rich. And again, to their point that, this is a protest against racial discrimination, okay, tell me specifically what you are protesting, specifically, because maybe you could fix it if it were specific. This is almost like if you're in a marital spat and the argument is, well, I just don't like the way you are. Well, then what you're saying is you just don't like me. Do you know what I mean? If you disagree with something specific that I've done, tell me
around it.
So that I can improve it.
Right. And the thing is, Tucker, there's more to the issue. It's not there's a racial injustice to fight. Is during the national anthem the time to do it? And then how it happened. He skidded into this. One reporter walked up to him and said, hey, why were you sitting? Because I know you've been benched. I know you're disappointed. Right. They thought they were going to that storyline. It's like, well, racial injustice and police brutality in this country. And they said, really? And the next week he did it again. And next thing you know, this wasn't Muhammad Ali at a press conference saying, I'm not going to Vietnam. That's a lot different.
Well, this is a hapless kid. That's what we're forgetting. And that's why I don't think we should take Colin Kaepernick as seriously as we take the people around Colin Kaepernick, the sinister figures in this, again, who are profiting from attacking the country in its most basic symbols. So what happens over time if your ruling class decides to attack the very system that made their lives possible? Everything falls apart. You can't. So that's why we should actually be worried about this. It's bigger than just one football player. Much bigger.
It's about Nike.
Global mega corporation Nike, which is cooler and more virtuous than you, has made Colin Kaepernick the star of its latest major ad campaign. That's because what real bravery looks like is getting celebrated by almost everyone in power and getting huge money from an enormously wealthy and influential company. Many regular Americans aren't as impressed, though. Some have already posted videos of themselves burning Nike gear. But before you throw your support to another megacorporation who hates your way of life, consider this. According to reports, Puma and Adidas also pursued Kaepernick before he signed with Nike. So something much larger is afoot. What is it exactly? Jason Whitlock hosts Speak for Yourself on FS1, and he joins us tonight. So, Jason, I read the story. My first thought was of you. I'm going to withhold any more judgment and allow you to lay out what this means.
I think that Nike has issues, PR issues. They've been sued for discrimination by both black people and women. They fired a bunch of executives recently. And long before any of that, Nike's had a problem with slave labor in Asia. And the people that actually make their shoes, Nike has no problem with their oppression. And so I think that Colin Kaepernick aligning with him is a marketing PR ploy by Nike to cover up their larger, bigger problems. and to feed the left-wing media. So, oh, look, we're friends of Kaepernick. So overlook these years of criticism about the slave labor that makes our shoes and the exploitation that we're perfectly fine with. And then, Tucker, I'll go even a step further. When you look at President Trump's Make America First policies and how they're impacting corporations like a Nike and the business they do overseas, go have their materials made in another country for less money, and then bring them back into our country without being taxed or punished for that. I just think Nike is playing politics here on a number of different levels, and it's a PR stunt that I think is going to blow up and backfire in their face. No different. This reminds me of ESPN naming Caitlyn Jenner the most courageous person in America because she had a sex change operation. I think this is cut from that same cloth, and how doing that labeled ESPN as PC and out of touch with middle America. I think this play here with Colin Kaepernick is going to backfire on Nike.
So what you're saying, I mean, you're describing something a little more sophisticated than just a kind of reflexive kowtowing to PC sensibility. What you're saying is this is a company that could be attacked on legitimate grounds by critics and on the left for exploiting workers, for being bad for the world, but to avoid being attacked, they pay a kind of indulgence, a tax to the Church of PC by making Colin Kaepernick even richer, and they don't get criticized. Is that what you're saying?
Without question. And I think this was really a harebrained idea and scheme. It's a sign of desperation. Again, I think it's going to blow up in their face. This is just bad business. And I get it. For a business to move into something this polarizing with sports fans, it's just crazy to me when Nike has made so much money and became this powerful force, going with Michael Jordan, who avoided politics and understood that everybody at the end of the day buys shoes. You know, the hypocrisy here by Nike is extreme. You know, using Colin Kaepernick in this way, and I don't blame Colin Kaepernick. He's going to take a check from wherever he can get it. This is Nike using him to cover up for their own internal and external problems.
But do you think I mean, that's such a smart point. As a business decision, why would you, if you were Nike, especially a company with historically universal appeal, want to narrow your potential customer base to 40% of the country or narrow it at all? Why would you do that? That seems pretty short-sighted.
Because there are executives running all over America who basically grew up in the countercultural era of the 60s and 70s, and now they're in positions of power, and they're doing crazy harebrained things with their companies. Again, I've said it a million times, ESPN eventually thought that doing PC politics was good business, and it's just not. They're playing, Nike and a lot of corporations are playing to Twitter way too often. They think if we can just make Twitter happy and make the left-wing dominated Twitter happy, we're going to make the world a better place and we're going to make our business better. It's just not going to happen.
It's so smart. It's a theme that you hit it again and again, and I'm glad that you do. Social media is changing our world, our society, our brains even in ways that we don't even perceive. Thank you for reminding us of that. Jason Whitlock, as always.
Let's bring in Fox's contributor, DeRoy Murdoch. I still, okay, Nike hasn't responded. Why would they do this, DeRoy? Why step into it like this and risk your business?
Yeah, they're stepping into flaming shoes. Imagine that. No, this is a very odd choice. Kaepernick is one of the most divisive figures in the country. He's a total lightning rod. And it's just a terrific way to upset about half the country to the point where you've got boycotts going, shoes on fire. You don't see that every day. And they've just bought themselves a world of hurt. Now, they may think they're going to pick up some people who are pro-Kaepernick, but I think it's going to be a much smaller number than people who are alienated by this.
Well, I think a lot of people have been alienated, and the NFL ratings show that. I can't wait to hear when the NFL finally does respond to this, and they will at some point. But I want to show you this. You know, there was a Wall Street Journal NBC poll, you know, the kneeling, the controversy. What do you make of this? I want to show you how people responded to the question, is it appropriate for NFL players to kneel during the anthem? Yes to 43%, right? 54% say no, not appropriate.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is why doesn't Nike executives look at this and say, maybe we don't want to step into a controversy, which frankly is now going to court because Colin Kaepernick is suing the NFL.
Absolutely. And it's not like he has such a great athletic record. I mean, this guy's not on the team right now. It's a good idea to show up at work. We haven't seen that, so you can't really praise the guy's work ethic. And, whether you agree or disagree with him, I think we all believe as an American he has a right under the First Amendment to do this. The question is time and place. If he wants to hold a press conference after hours or get a bunch of team members to march through the streets, that's great. But when he's at the stadium, when they're all at the stadium, their job is to play football, to work at the workplace. There's a workplace right now. If you and I decided to get on our knees, that would be inappropriate.
Right.
Want to do it off hours? I don't think anybody would object.
Cowboys owner Jerry Jones were the first people to come out and go, look, this is a business. I need my players on the field. Right. He told me that in an interview last year. He said, I need my players in the field. This is the business of football, which is a multi-billion-dollar business, the richest sport, not in the world, but at least in the United States, take away soccer. I mean, he said, look, this is your job. And the NFL had to come up with an anthem policy. Now we have that in place, and that's becoming controversial. I don't know. The one thing I would say about these players, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand it to stand up for something, to stand for a cause, something you believe in. But why not take that mandate and that passion and that belief and do it off the field? Colin Kaepernick is so concerned about racial injustice. Go out into the community. Go to Oakland, right there. You want to see racial injustice? Go to Chicago.
Imagine going to Chicago,
right
getting a whole bunch of NFL players marching down Michigan Avenue saying enough with the deaths. This has to stop. Stop shooting each other. The cops have got to do their jobs. A couple weeks ago, they had 75 people killed over a weekend. Apparently, one person arrested. Should be a source of outrage. They could go demonstrate after hours about that. Instead, they're kneeling through the anthem, upsetting people, NFL ratings going down, empty seats in the stadiums. This seems like a disaster for the NFL, and now the Nike stepped into it, and they're creating perhaps a disaster for themselves.
What do you make of the police organization saying they're not going to boycott? I mean, I think this is just the first of many groups, and I'm thinking about veterans groups in particular, or active military personnel that are going to say, you know what, thanks a lot. I've dedicated my life to the American flag and this country. You're disrespecting me. They've already been turning their TVs off. I'm wondering if it's going to go further.
The TVs are going to go off. Fewer people will be in the stadiums. And, people complain about the police. But if something goes wrong, most people don't call Kaepernick. They call 911. Isn't it funny how that works?
Isn't that amazing that's just how things kind of roll out? Yep. Well, look, I mean, I have also reached out to the NFL, as Adam has, and I'm hoping to hear back before the end of the day today. And they are going to respond. It's just I think they're working on what that response needs to be right now. But
until then, the shoes will burn.
Controversial NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick sparked strong reactions 2 years ago when he decided to take a stand by taking a knee. He was the first of many players to protest social injustice by kneeling when the U.S. national anthem was played before football games. Well, that cost him his job. Now, Kaepernick has a new deal. He is one of the faces for sportswear giant Nike and the 30th anniversary of its Just Do It campaign. He's introduced his own slogan, believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. Well, this is triggering some new controversy here. For more on what's at stake for Nike and for Colin Kaepernick, let's bring in Drew Dorweiler. He is a sports business expert. He's worked with major sports leagues like the NHL, Major League Baseball, and Drew joins us now live from Montreal. So there's a lot of reaction to this. What is your reaction? What do you think of this marketing tactic from Nike?
Well, I think it's both brilliant, certainly timely, given the fact that just last week the judge in the United States in the collusion case ordered that the case would proceed. The NFL, of course, trying to quash it. And I also think it's a lot more safe. It's not quite as bold as it might first appear.
So he lost his job over kneeling during the national anthem, and there was a time where it seemed like people were distancing themselves from his movement. Why now, then, is it safe for Nike to get on board and promote it?
Well, because it's had staying power, the whole process. In fact, I would argue that it's gathered momentum. Also the fact that quite a few people who were initially angered at Kaepernick and thought it was a stunt, they've seen the personal cost, the sacrifice that has resulted, and they also were quite angry that the NFL is apparently blackballing him.
Mm-hmm. And Nike must have crunched the numbers before making a move like this. This must be profitable for the company, right?
Well, absolutely. And I mean, ironically, they've just renewed their existing $1 billion uniform deal. It was supposed to expire in 2020. Now they've renewed it this past March to last through 2028. So again, it's all a lot more calculated. It's much more safe than it might first appear. However, I do think it's genius.
Yeah, well, I mean, we say first appear because some people reacting to this launch last night by burning their Nike products, there is a bit of a backlash. Anyone who supports Donald Trump would probably be on that side of this. So how does a company strategize on cashing in on social movements like this?
Well, they probably figure that if you're a if you're the typical Trump supporter, you probably don't have a Kaepernick jersey to begin with. However, if you are on the other side, you might very well be picking one up in the next week or two.
Mm-hmm. What about repercussions? Do you see any repercussions to this?
Again, not really. I think the real repercussions are simply that the Nike's going to sell a heck of a lot more gear in terms of. I understand they're going to have jerseys. They're sell Kaepernick shoes. So, you know, again, hats off to them. I think it's a marketing coup.
Do you think we're going to see other brands cashing in on movements and hashtags that end up going viral?
Well, that's going to be very interesting to see. I can hardly wait. But certainly at this point, I mean, Kaepernick is the face of this movement. So, you know, he's really the man to be contending with right now.
All right. Well, we appreciate your thoughts. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Our sports business expert, Drew Dorweiler, joining us live from Montreal.
New tonight, President Trump is now weighing in on this controversial new Nike ad featuring Colin Kaepernick. And it is not, in some ways, a response that everyone might expect. The president telling the Daily Caller tonight, I think it's a terrible message and a message that shouldn't be sent. But it is what this country is all about. You have certain freedoms to do other things that people think you shouldn't do. I personally am on a different side of it. The president also mentioned the Nike flagship store is in his building and pays him a lot of rent. The ad triggered backlash from some customers, many turning to social media to share photos of Nike products burned in protest. The company's stock was down today about 3%. My next guest is outraged by this choice by Nike, and he knows something about sacrificing for something. In 2008, his Humvee was hit by an IED in Afghanistan, leaving him severely burned and blinded in one eye. Here now, welcome back to the story tonight, Sergeant Robert Bartlett, Army veteran and advisor to United Against a Nuclear Iran. Sergeant, good to see you tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
It was May, though, of 2005, just so you know.
Thank you.
In Iraq. Yeah, no problem.
2005.
Yeah.
We stand corrected. So you feel very strongly that this is the wrong message from Nike.
Absolutely.
Why?
I think kind of Mother Teresa said it best. The fruit of love is service, right? My family's fought for this country in service of this country and under this flag since the birth of this country. This is my grandfather's flag, who broke his back in a coal mine. World War II broke out. He walked with a cane. He threw his cane in the front yard and went and signed up for the Navy the next day. His son, my grandfather, said my grandfather's going to war with a broken back on an able body. He went. You know, we serve, and in that service, you feel the love of what you did, being part of something bigger than yourself. Getting on your knees is not being part of something bigger than yourself. Service, getting into the community, helping out those in need, that's service of others.
So what, I mean, but Colin Kaepernick says that he feels that there is racial injustice in the country and that as an American, he has the right to protest if he feels that will send his message. And now Nike's on board. They're helping him send that message in a big way.
Right, yeah. So they make all this money off of those who sacrifice for the freedom for them to do that under a flag that provides them with that service of freedom to do that. So they're protesting the very thing that provides them that opportunity. And then you look at Nike and you say, okay, well, they have their freedom to put up whoever they want in advertisement. I have a feeling Nike's not going to make its number this year. All my friends are burning their stuff. We've got friends who got rid of all their Hollywood stuff for those who didn't support America or are not pro-American. It's continued. Got friends who don't watch the NFL anymore.
Yeah.
Lots of them.
The ratings are down 10% last year, and this subject has definitely hurt them, and it's very much back in the forefront with Colin Kaepernick's trial going forward now as well. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, of all people, has decided to weigh in on the Nike ad with Colin Kaepernick. Here's what he said. The NFL season will start this week. Unfortunately, once again, Kaepernick is not on an NFL roster, even though he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Well, if he was, he'd have a job,
Yeah.
no matter what he was doing. Right? No matter what he was protesting, he'd have a job. And that's not the reality. And so Ahmadinejad, if he's, the great divine person of American politics and what's right and what's wrong, then the world's really upside down.
Okay, less than a minute left. I want to get your reaction to John Brennan, who has also been much in the news. He says Colin Kaepernick drew our collective attention to the problem of continued racial injustice in America. He did so not to disrespect our flag, but to give meaning to the words of the preamble of the Constitution in order to form a more perfect union. Well done, Colin. Well done, says John Brennan.
I'd say that's a continuation of voting for communism. If you don't stand for the flag and don't care about the flag and the very things that provide you with those freedoms and representative of that, then what are you standing for? Are you standing for a communist flag of some other country, or are you standing with Ahmadinejad or who? If you're not standing for this country, what are you standing for? If so, hey, let's trade. Let's trade for people who want to come here. All right? You go there, we'll take them here.
Sergeant, we don't want to trade you for anybody. We're very glad you're here tonight.
I love this country.
And we thank you so much.
It's worth dying for this country. It's worth it.
You and your grandfather and your great-grandfather, we thank all of you for your service. Thank you very much for being here today,
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Martha.
Good to see you again.
You too.
Always a pleasure to have you on the program. You too.